independent variable was the electronic money transfer services, and the dependent variable was a financial performance of small and medium enterprises. Then for that research topic, my intervening variable was the level of digital literacy, the government policy, the business size, where I find that when those intervening variables, they are favorable, they are going to make the status of the relationship strong. And when they are unfavorable, for example, the government policies, they are high, let's say taxes, people they have limited digital skills, let's say how to use bank systems, mobile money transfer services. They find the status of the relationship is going to be affected and is going to be weak. Then the third stage was review relevant literature. Here, the researcher reads books, journals, uh, uh, previous studies or previous research that has been done regarding the same research topic someone is making a research on. Main purpose is to identify the existing knowledge or find out what other researchers found. And another thing, it can also help to identify the research gap or what we call the uncovered knowledge, so that you can start from there in making your research about such a topic. Then another thing, or the fourth stage is to frame the research problem. A research problem, that's where you can give a description about how the problem looks like, who are the people affected, where it is taking place, and as many as possible. Therefore, for example, regarding to my research topic, which was the influence of electronic money transfer services on the financial performance of small and medium enterprises, the problem statement was, despite there was an increased adoption of the electronic money transfer services, still some small and medium enterprises are facing a major financial challenges. For example, high transaction costs, limited access to formal financial services, poor liquidity management, which can impact on their long-term sustainability and growth of their businesses. Then the fifth stage is design methodology. This stage explains how the research will be conducted. For example, the research design that will be used, the population size that will be considered, the sampling method technique that will be used, ethical considerations, methods of data correction, how are you going to analyze data, and many others. Then the last stage is to report your findings. After collecting and analyzing your data properly, the researcher should present the results, and they should be honest, they should be trustworthy, and they should ethically adhere to researchers researchers principles. That's what I have. I think someone else can also start from there. Back to you,
Thank
our
you.
coordinator, Madam
Thank
Kakandi.
you so much. Oh my God. Thank you so much, Scovia. Friends, we are having a recap of the previous lecture. And we know that this is what Dr. guided, that in every lecture we start with a recap from the class. Scovia, thank you so much for that. Another colleague ready to give us something from the previous lecture. If you have something to add on what Scovia has submitted, or you have another view, kindly.
Hello?
Yes, Charles, you can come in.
Yes, thank you so much. And I also appreciate the first person to present on the recap. So basically last weekend we also talked about how to come up with a very strong background structure for our research. So we said when developing a background structure for a research, you need to take into consideration the historical background. You need to take into consideration the historical background, also looking at the theoretical background, and followed by the conceptual background. However, let's take for example, you are trying to do a research on a topic that says investigating the increase of pregnancy rate among adolescent girls. So the first thing you need to do as a researcher, you need to look at the global context, how that affects the global context, how it's happening within the global context. When that is done, then you roll it down to the regional context, which is, for example, we are in Africa. After looking at it globally, you reduce it now to the African context, looking at it in Africa, or having done that, now you bring it down to the Liberia context. So since I'm from Liberia, we look at it at the Liberia context, and then you reduce it now to the institutional context. So if all of these are done, it will help you to come up with a strong and a solid background for your research. Thank you, and somebody else can come in from there.
Thank you so much, Charles. Another person to come in, Marvin Wagenda, is your hand up? Hello. Any other person who wants to give us a recap of what we had the previous time?
I see Evan's hand up. Yes.
We have been raising our hands. Seems like
I was going to say, I'm very sorry, I didn't see the hands. You can come in.
Cool, no worries.
Please, come in.
I will continue from where Scovia stopped on the methodology. So you have understood how you're going to collect data, the methods, you have designed the tools. For example, if you say the method is a questionnaire, so the survey, you then decide the tool which is a questionnaire. If you say the method is interview, you decide the tool which is interview guide. You have looked at the ethical consideration, informed consent, honest reporting, and maybe there's the privacy. Then you move into the process itself, where now we are not going to do now the real data collection. If you are collecting qualitative or quantitative data, you're going to maybe do the interviews, going to interview some people. You're going to maybe distribute self-administered questionnaires or the other side. And then you have that data collected and bring it together. You do the organization of the data for quantitative. You clean that data. You already know the softwares or the data analysis platforms or software that you are going to use. So you are going to interpret that data based on the objectives, interpret qualitative data, interpret quantitative data using various analysis techniques. If you are using qualitative, call it quantitative. You maybe want to look at descriptive. You want to go in a descriptive manner. You want maybe look at regression, correlation, hypothesis, depending on your research objectives and research questions. Maybe you want to look at measures of central tendencies or those other types of analysis. So we have analyzed your data, then you move into interpreting it, and you draw meaning out of that data, you write a report, and then you disseminate the report. So I just picked from where she stopped to complete the research process and ensuring that there are some alignment between the research questions, the research objectives, and the hypothesis. If you are looking at maybe testing relationship between the two variables, whether there is a relationship between variable A and this variable B, things of that nature. So just depends on the design that you have made. So that's what I can add on. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Evans. We have Peter Mario in the chat. He says a problem statement is supposed to show the magnitude of a problem in quantitative terms. For example, how many small enterprises are struggling to make profits. Another colleague to come in with a recap.
Yes, John Kira.
Wumaru, you want to come in?
Good morning, colleague and president of the class. I thank everyone for the recap. And what I would like to know to add on is that is alignment matrix for research quality. In that area, we have to a topic should be linked with the problems, and then problem should be linked with objective, and objective should be linked with the question, and question should be linked with method. Then also in that scenario, also we need to method linked to the analysis. Then also we need finding to answer our objective. So this is what I can add on alignment for the matrix for the research quality. Thank you.
Thank you, John Kier. Umaru, you had something to say.
Really, I just want to give John a heads up, but I think we have Peter wanting to say something.
Okay, Peter,
can you go ahead?
Oh, thank you very much for giving me the opportunity. We also looked at on the side of literature weaknesses. We say that there are some areas where researchers always rely so much into all the sources, that is all data, all information. So they don't update themselves on the new or current versions of the literature done by other people. So it makes it very hard for people now to make a following the new trends that affects the current situations or that would influence or give real information on the ground. Then they also look at listing without synthesis. So there are people who do not consider synthesis first. So for them, they just list. Then after listing, they continue. Then we also look at theoretical linkages, which are weak. So that is almost is now referring to the first one. Then we also have what's called poor citations and accuracy. Then it was also talking about ignoring contradicting findings. So there are some findings which are contradicting, but however, if they're contradicting, we should always be considering them. How are they contradicting from the, let's say, the new current or information that is on the ground now vis-a-vis what is in the past? Then if the past cannot now be put into the current one, cannot solve this the current problem, then now we use what's called the new ones to solve the current problem. That now take us again to unclear research gap. Unclear research gap, there are areas where instead of going and digging deep into the what is on the ground, like now let's say Ebola now has already become an epidemic which is already on the ground. What is the cause of this Ebola? Who are the people who are affected most? Can it be in terms of women, men? Can we put it as adults and children? Can we put which side of the Congo which is mostly affected? If anyone is willing to go and do, then what type of the Ebola virus is it? How many viruses are there, and this current on which one? So that it will help the health team to really work on exactly what that kind of virus is. So if researchers lack such kind of information, then it will impede on the treatment of such kind of risk. I end up here. Thank you very much for giving me the opportunity.
Thank you so much, Peter. That was really helpful and an eye-opener. Friends, any other person with a...
Yes, Emmanuel.
Yes, please, Emmanuel, go ahead.
Okay, good morning, colleagues. Apologies, I joined a little bit late. I don't know what has been covered, but I can also give a little bit of what I learned last week. I know maybe people have already talked about the research process, the identification of the topics, where the topic identification should start with being a little bit broader. Then you narrow it to specific topic and you have a title under that. Then number 2, we also talked about research topics. And under the research topic, we look at the selection of the topic should be having an evidence, and it should be relevant, and also consider the ethical aspect of it, and also the feasibility, probably. And then we look at also, under that, we looked at the background. For example, when you are building the background, under the background, you look at the broader aspect, and you also narrow it down, because then the background, like I had one of the colleague already talked about it a little bit. You look at the historical aspect, you look at the theoretical background, and you look at the conceptual background. And then you need to also have the empirical evidence of everything. And in doing that, you need to also identify the gaps, and also have a direct okay, when you identify the gap, your gap should be able to have an independent and the dependent variables. That is, under the top dependent variable, it is stated that it should always appear on the left hand side, and then the independent variable right side. On the theoretical and after having done that, then we go to the problem statement. In the problem statement, we look at we describe actually the idea from the topic, and then we also describe the gaps that are identified that you need to study about. And then we also have to look at what has been done previously. You also have to capture it in your information under the problem of the statement. So this is briefly what I have to share with us. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Emmanuel. I'm seeing someone.
Thank you so much, Madam President. Thank you so much. I lost my rights to Marvin. Marvin, can you hear me?
Yes, doctor, I can hear you.
Yeah, give me back my rights as a host as we start our class. Thank you so much for those who have shared. I need to share the slides.
I didn't realize that. Let me check, doctor, and I make you the host again.
Marvin, you are the host.
Oh,
Meanwhile,
okay, doctor.
somebody else,
let me
has
make
anything to mention, you can go for it. Then the rest of the class, please mute, because I've seen everybody is unmuted. I'm not able to share the slides, but if you're okay with that, I can just move on and I begin teaching, but I don't have the right to share. Somebody want to say something? Arinaitwe, mute. Hope, mute. Prose, mute, unless you have something to mention.
Doctor, we have someone in the chat, Bamwenda Guma. He has written something that under literature review, the literature review is meant to be conversation of literature, digging deep into existing literature from different researchers on the topic being researched. He added, it's supposed to identify gaps. It's supposed to identify gaps and just mere debates, and not just mere debates. It clarifies concepts and theories, and it guides the theory of methodology, and finally guide on the academic positioning of the research. Then we have another colleague, Nankwasa Elvis. He says that under literature review, one should be critical, not just descriptive. One shouldn't simply write an annotated bibliography or a laundry list of who did what. Compare, contrast, and critically evaluate the scholar's findings. That's all. Thank you. Over to you, Doctor.
Right, thank you so much. Can you hear me? My voice is not very well. I'm having a cold. I don't know whether they're able to hear me. Can you see my slides? Can you hear me?
Yes, Doctor. I can hear you loud and clear.
Are the slides seen?
Yes, sir. It's visible, it's clear.
Can you hear me well, much as I have a cold?
Loud and clear.
Yes,
Yes, Doctor.
Okay. Thank you so much.
Yes, Doctor, we hear you. We hear you loud and clear, Doctor.
Thank you so much. I would like to apologize. The system is down. I struggled to join 9:45, but the system was down. I realized it was a general problem until the deputy president called me and told me the system is down. So I just only requested her if she could get the link, and we used the link. So we're using the link, we are not in the system. I hope I will not be penalized for this, because the university does not allow us to have a class outside the link. And normally the people who betray us are the same people within the class. I don't know what people are interested in. They will go and report that we did not have a class. If we had a class, we had it outside the platform. We have such students in every university. We also have it in this university. Sometimes I ask myself, have they come to study or they have just come to report? So some of us are being crucified sometimes, but know it that the system is down. Whoever is there to report, because this is recorded. We are using the link from the system, but the system does not allow us to use it. So colleagues, take it as a point to be noted. Otherwise, ladies and gentlemen, I will address you today as ladies and gentlemen. This is research methodology. Research methodology is unit 4, if you looked at our course outline. And we're looking at it from, a recap point of view, from unit 3, which is a research process, to the rigorous methodological decisions. Some of you may not have heard about me. My name is Dr. Joseph Michael Okwadi-Tuke. I'm a son of the late John Joseph Erotot, a very proud son of Tesoland. So colleagues, I am privileged to be, again, your key facilitator for this module. This is research methods. And today we are going to have unit 4, which is research methodology. Colleagues, when you look at research methodology, it's one of the most important, I would call it, aspect in research. If you don't have a methodology, then you have no research. That's what I must say. You don't have a methodology, then you have no research. That's what it means, because ideally at the end of the day, a methodology is the one that anchors the study. You don't have a research methodology, then you know you don't have a research. Colleagues, I want us to understand that this unit number 4, which is research methodology, is very important for us to, undertake, because we concentrated on the research process, beginning with the identification of a problem. We did that. Yes. And colleagues, you have been able to recap, and I was very happy, very proud man, knowing that you guys have understood what we undertook in the previous lectures. After identifying a problem, we said you have to develop objectives, yes, and review literature, and then building a conceptual direction. This is very important, colleagues. But again, I want us to get it that today we move to the practical question. Yes, when we were on the research process, you had a question, you had an objective, you had an hypothesis. And now we're saying we're moving to the practical question. How shall we generate evidence that is credible, ethical, and useful? That's the question that you ask. Research is a chain of logic. That's what we have said. So we have to ask this question. So colleagues, research methodology is the bridge between the research idea and the data that will support our conclusions. Very key, very important. In academic research, colleagues, methodology is therefore not an ordinary chapter. It is the logic of the entire study. Research is a chain of logic. Mark you. I want to give an example, colleagues, that a student may have a topic on a hand hygiene compliance among health workers. The methodology explains whether the study will use questionnaires, or observation checklists, interviews. It could be maybe a record review or documentary review, or a combination of these approaches, the surveys and so forth. Colleagues, this is very important because we are looking at it in a practical manner. So when you talk about a methodology, you ought to understand so many things. That you have a problem, you have a question, you have action, you have to go review the literature, then the framework lens, then the methodology is the expression. This is very key and very important. I believe the slides are moving. When they are not moving, colleagues, let me understand this very well. Because we have the objectives of this specific methodology, a unit. We have the objectives. And the colleagues, I must say that the presentation will begin with a short recap that we have already had. We have had it, and I think we are happy that we have had a recap. Yes, but again...
Doctor, sorry, but the slides are not moving.
Slides are not moving. Which one are you seeing?
Unit objectives.
I think the units are moving. This is second slide.
So can you give me a chance to explain? I don't teach using the slides. Slides guide me. If you are going to be in my class and you want to be patient, you will pass research. But if you want me to move this, I'm going to move them and you'll understand nothing. Colleagues, are we together? Unit objectives where I am, but I have to explain this. Is it okay, or you are used to lecturers who come and move slides? Is that okay? Do I move the slides and we finish in the next 20 minutes?
Explain.
It is okay, doctor, but you're the one who asked us if the slides were moving.
But this is a unit objective. Is that okay?
Yes, it is okay, doctor. Please explain and teach us.
So why are you complaining? Guys, stop complaining. Just listen to me. Let me test if the units are is that moving?
It's moving,
Yes.
doctor.
Doctor, it's moving and we are on the right slide.
It's okay.
which
I
you
might move
explained
these things
very
and finish them very fast. Let me see how many there are. But you guys, if you're interested in slides moving per se, they will move and I will finish in 10 minutes. That is the conclusion. Do we stop here?
Hey, doctor, no.
So I need
Doctor,
to
No,
class.
explain. We go. I'll go ahead. Doctor.
My slides are normally summarized, but I love explaining. This is unit number 4, research methodology. I explained something about it. And this is the flow of this class today. We had a discussion on unit number 3, and it was well done. I think I'm going back to that again, so that those who have just joined do not lose track. Mine is not about move slides, but you people follow what is on the slide. So this unit number 3 is something that you have already done. We have done the recap, yes, and now we're coming to the unit objectives. I thought I was explaining this so that we could, get into it. So the unit objectives is very key, and we're saying by the end of this specific unit, colleagues, I want us to understand that you should be able to explain research methodology. Yes, that is what we're talking about, knowing the meaning. You should be able to understand the research methodology. Explain it and explain it well. And you should be able to ensure that you are also able to select what we call a suitable research design, justifying the selected method, which is very key. You should be able, colleagues, to define the population and also looking at issues of the sampling procedures, identifying the designs, ensuring that you look at all of this in a very, very positive manner. But of course, colleagues, what is important for us to understand is getting to understand maybe what the research methodology is all about. This is what we ought to understand, and getting it very well. So when you look at this, unit objectives, it's basically about you understanding the meaning of what, research methodology is all about, how to choose the design, the population, the sampling correctly, correcting evidence, and defending the choices. This is key and very important. So colleagues, if you are able to understand this unit and able to explain what research methodology is all about, selecting suitable research design, and defending the population and the sampling procedures, designing instruments, and defending issues of validity, reliability, and ethics, and then aiming at not only to know the terminologies, colleagues, but also to apply it in the real research writing. Then a competent researcher must justify a methodological choice in a way that conveniences you and your supervisor, examiner, policy audiences, maybe and other readers. Practically speaking, colleagues, I want us to understand that you should be able to select what sometimes we're calling a cross-sectional design. When you talk about the designs here, you should be able to know that, especially when you are looking at issues of merging or completing within the two years of free. Instead of case studies, normally case studies or purposive sampling is normally sometimes appropriate for key formats, that kind of thing. But colleagues, this is very key, and it's very important for us to understand very well. So I wanted to ask, methodology meaning, what does it mean? When you talk about methodology, what does methodology mean? If we started from here, Ladies and gentlemen, research methodology is the logical plan that explains how a study will be conducted and why the selected methods are appropriate. It is different from methods alone. I will mention this again. When you talk about methodology, it is a logical plan. When we talk about a logical plan, we're saying it is that plan that explains how a study will be conducted and why the selected methods are appropriate. Colleagues, this is key. It is different from methods alone. Don't talk about methods. We're talking about methodology. Because when you talk about methods, it's also a different thing. I'm going to explain that later. Yes, methods could be tools. Methodology is the justification and organization of those tools. A strong methodology therefore explains the design, the population, the sampling, data collection methods, measurements, validity, reliability. We're talking about ethical issues and analytical plan. I'll give you an example. A survey is a method explaining why the questionnaire fits the objectives, how it will be administered, how it will be pre-tested, and how the data will be analyzed. All of this is what we call methodology. That is according to Kothari, Creswell and Creswell. And Bobby, this is what we're talking about. Therefore, colleagues, when we're talking about methodology, we are talking about the research roadmap. The research roadmap that begins with making a plan. And that plan is how do you collect data? Which tools are you going to use to collect the data? Which instruments will you think are appropriate? Justify them. And then what technique will you use for doing so? And what could be the data analytical systems you are going to use? How about ethical reviews? Will you be able to follow them? Colleagues, this is very important. Therefore, research design is part of the methodology. And I want us to look at the research design. And we are being told that research design a blueprint. When you talk about a blueprint, then you know that it is a plan. It guides how the researcher will answer research questions. Designs may be quantitative or qualitative. Colleagues, you can even decide to integrate them, make them mixed methods. We call it triangulation. The correct design depends on the purpose of the study and the nature of evidence required. The research design should therefore be chosen because it fits the problem, not because it is familiar or easy. I will mention this again, that while choosing a research design, it should fit the purpose. Don't choose it because it's easy to use. And we're being told a research design is a blueprint, it's a roadmap. Designs answer how evidence will be produced. Colleagues, this is therefore very important. And I want to say, we have got types of research designs. And those types of research designs are quite a number. I want you to understand this, because you look at this and say, but what is this again? what is he talking about? We're talking again about the types of research designs. But before we look at the types of research designs, I want us again to say that the correct design depends on the purpose of the study and the nature of evidence required. And the research design should therefore be chosen because it fits the purpose, not because it's familiar or easy. I want to give an example. A prevalent study on cervical cancer, maybe cervical cancer screening. Yes, and let's look at the cervical cancer screening uptake, maybe. They may require a quantitative cross-sectional design, while a study on women's experience with screening may require a qualitative, what we call phenomenological design. Yes? So we are saying for you to be able to choose a design, it should not be simple, easy, appropriate. No. The kind of study that you have, you guys, you have started submitting. Somebody, by the way, submitted his work 2-3 days ago by mail, and I responded that use an appropriate platform. Please withdraw and make sure you use the system, because I am always being also, I would call it, examined. Does this guy teach? If he teaches, he says he gave a coursework. What kind of coursework did he give? Is it in the platform? Is there evidence? If it's not there, then it becomes an issue for us to be able to look at. So colleagues, therefore, designs answer how evidence will be produced. So this is very important. At this level, I don't know whether there are questions, but I would have loved to have them at the end. Types of research designs, colleagues. You will realize that when you talk about types of research designs, then you know you are looking at quite a number of them. Colleagues and the ladies and gentlemen, designs include descriptive. I will mention this. We have quite a many of them. We have correlational. We have got experimental. We have got case studies. We have got phenomenological kind of research designs. We have got grounded theory designs. We have got cross-sectional kind of research designs. We have got longitudinal. We have got case studies. There are quite many, a number of them. You will not finish them. But the group that is going to explain this will tell us more about the advantages and disadvantages of each of them. But I wanted to say that, yes, each design answers a different type of research question. I will mention this again, that each research design answers a specific research question. Therefore, a poor research choice weakens the credibility of the entire study. For example, colleagues, a descriptive design is suitable when the researcher wants to describe a situation, while a cross-sectional design is suitable when the researcher wants to examine association among variables. Longitudinal designs, colleagues, in this specific case, is not relevant for you because you want to finish your master's degree within 2 years or even less. I also did a master's degree in this university, our mighty university, 2009, 2020, yes, 2020, 2019, 2020. And I was able to get 2 papers, a postgraduate diploma in M&E, and then a master's degree in M&E. From that time, I'm a senior lecturer in this university. But I got a first class for me to be given modules like this one to teach. Yes, but you can even get better than me because I wanted to get 5 out of 5. They gave me 4.96. But I'm still complaining until tomorrow because I did not see what I failed. Thank you. Colleagues, I want us to mention this and go by that. Again, I will mention this. Never use longitudinal if you want to finish your studies within 2 years. Longitudinal is meant for those studies that may never end. You can even die when you have not completed longitudinal. So cross-sectional could be the best. So if you have longitudinal, check your assignment. Make sure you remove that because I'll give you 0 out of 15. Thank you. Colleagues, we are saying there are quite a number of research designs. And we're saying these research designs answer different types of research questions. If your research questions require that you are supposed to study for 100 years, it's okay, use the longitudinal. But if you want to finish your master's within 2 years, like the way I did, then I didn't even take 2 years. By the 1.5 years, I was done. So colleagues, use cross-sectional if you want to complete within this shortest time possible. So colleagues, we have also known that a poor research design weakens the credibility of the entire study. Back it and get it well. And I gave you an example that a descriptive design is suitable when the researcher wants to describe a situation, while a cross-sectional design is suitable when the researcher wants to examine association among variables. But I would also want to say that cross-sectional is a snapshot because you want to finish within a shortest period of time. And longitudinal, you want to observe changes over time, so you continue observing them. But case study, you want to understand the depth of the issue. Colleagues, I want us to look at it in a practical manner. That if you want to know whether leadership styles relates to forensic service delivery, then a correlational design may be appropriate. If you want to understand how one police health facility manages their CPD activities, a case study may be suitable. Colleagues, I'm using examples that are convenient to me as a researcher and the person who's facilitating. You can choose your own examples. Thank you. Colleagues, I want us to look at the next slide. Theory of methods link. Yes, we looked at this, the paradigms. We talked about the quantitative and qualitative research paradigms. I don't know who remembers that. It is my best. And we looked at it at unit number 2. Ladies and gentlemen, I want to mention this and I want to mention it well. And I want us to get this and get it well. Assuming the slides are moving. If they are not, then there's a problem. And you have to remind me. We're looking at the theory to link. Yes? We are looking at the theory to method link or link the methodology, which is very important. Colleagues, research is a process. You can see how these processes move. And now we're looking at how we bring the unit number 2 and link it to unit number 4. Very interesting. We're being told that from philosophy to techniques. The other time we're talking about philosophical grounding. Now we're talking about techniques. Ladies and gentlemen, the research onion reminds us that methodology has layers. You people know an onion. I hope you have cooked. If you have not cooked, then you know you have issues. Me, even up to now, I cook for myself. Because when I get home, my wife is complaining. This man was married to books. You can imagine. I'm married to books. All my daughters have gotten married. So why would I rush home? Let me get married to a laptop and internet. And by the way, my first article that I published when I was doing my first PhD, it was very interesting. How I divorced my first wife, married the second, married the third, produced a baby with the second and the third wife, and joined the first wife with my second wife, second, third wife, and a baby. You can begin connecting the dots later, but I know you're going to get confused. I meant to say I had to temporarily divorce my wife at home. That is Stella Moge. Then I came for a PhD program, and I got married to a laptop, being my second wife, got married to internet, being my third wife, produced a PhD, that's the child, produced by the laptop and the internet. Then I went back home to join my wife. But up to now, we're not very good friends, because when you annoy me, I pick the knife, I go and cut the onion. That's how I understand what the onion looks like. Guys, ladies, if you are here and you are single, never get married to an academician, you'll regret. If there is anybody who admires what academicians do, I will tell you, we have a lot of challenge. You don't tell me, come to bed, to do what, at what time, when I have a lesson to prepare. Thank you. Ladies and gentlemen, we're looking at theory to method link. And we're saying the research onion reminds us methodology has layers. A researcher begins with assumptions about knowledge, which is key and very important. Then selects an approach. Very well. Then he looks at the strategy. Very good. Then he goes and looks at what we call horizon and data collection techniques. Very important. Colleagues, this prevents the common mistake of choosing tools before clarifying the logic. This is what I must tell you. I want you to understand that you are not supposed to go and begin looking at the tool before you can be able to look at the logic of the study. Yes, plan. What are you planning? How do you collect the data? Yes, then go and collect. After collecting, which tool? Then analyze. After analysis, what are you going to do? Come down and doing the interpretation as you write the report. That's what we're talking about. Colleagues, this is very important. Therefore, we're saying the most important thing we ought to understand, let me look at, theory to methodology kind of link. I want to look at a positivist, for instance. A positivist, which is a quantitative study, may be structured, in a manner that he wants to use maybe a survey method. Then he wants to use a questionnaire. Then that questionnaire is the one that collects the data, which is quantitative. Then after that data, which is quantitative, he will now use maybe SPSS to be able to analyze the data. And when he's analyzing the data, he's looking at the statistical kind of testing. While, colleagues, an interpretive looks at the qualitative study, but may also use interviews and semantic analysis. This is what we're talking about. So, ontology therefore shapes reality. Epistemology shapes knowledge. And he said theory guides assumptions. But the designs that we have operationalized look at the issues of the inquiry, and then the methods generate evidence. Then they will analyze and support the claims. Colleagues, therefore, paradigm choices influence methodology. I'll go back and look at this again. That paradigm choices influence methodology. A positivist looks at quantitative data and will want to collect numerical data. You will not change about that because we don't want you to talk, I'm a positivist. Then again, you are going to say, my design is purely qualitative. Look at that. Then it means you are confused. You don't know what you are doing. So if, an interpretivist is going to use qualitative data, then that's okay. But you cannot say, I'm an interpretivist. Then you say, I'm going to use a survey to collect data. Then it means you are confused. You are not in my class. Colleagues, it's very important and key for us to be able to understand. I'll mention this again. Unit number 2 of the specific module is connected to unit number 4. Why am I saying this? Because we're talking about the theories are connected to the methods. The paradigms are connected to the methods and they influence the methodology. Colleagues, this is very key and very important. Let's look at what the population of the study can be. And colleagues, somebody is going to say, but this man, he gave us an assignment. Now again, he is teaching. What is this? What is wrong with this man? You see, confused. I'm not confused, but probably you would be the one confused. I'm only helping you to do your assignment, but I also want to teach. Then take the notes such that when you are doing your best, then you know that, but he guided this and he got this. I don't mind you keeping the recordings, no worries. So ladies and gentlemen, the population is the group to which the study applies. That's what I want you to understand. We must distinguish between the target population, yes, accessible population, yes, a sampling frame, yes, because we want to understand and ask questions. When you talk about the target population, who matters? Accessible population, who is reachable? And all of these are very key for us to be able to understand. But if you don't, then you are going to have a lot of issues. So when you talk about a sampling frame, then the question is, who is listed? It's very important for us to be able to understand. But again, I want us to understand that a population must be specific. A population must be within the term bound and relevant to the study. And it must have what I would call SMART objectives in general. Colleagues, a vague population weak sampling, sampling size determination, and generalization of findings. This is very important. Colleagues, population must be precise and realistic. That's what you ought to understand. And I want to say that, maybe if I can give an example, yes, practical. Instead of saying that a population, now like the vague ones normally, a vague population normally weakens sampling, maybe even the sampling determination. And somebody will say, you know, sometimes they say, population is all Ugandans. You know, somebody can say all Ugandans. So what is this? What are you talking about? Will you be able to study all Ugandans? Yes? So instead of saying all Ugandans, a study or a student may define the population as all registered health workers at Zambia Police Health Center 4. I'm a policeman, but I'm also a health worker. And I think I remember telling you this. I work in the Uganda Police Health Services. And when I give this example, say, but why is he giving this? I'm giving examples within the reach so that you can be able to put it in your own context. So if I'm a student and you are looking at issues of sampling, and we're saying, we don't want you to talk about things that we do not want to understand. So instead of you saying a population of all Ugandans, you as a student may define the population of all registered health, maybe workers at the Zambia Police Health Center 4 during the 2026 data collection period. Very important. Because now you could be studying maybe how health workers are able to do work and doing it very well, and you want to look at their performance. You cannot study the entire health facilities or all health center force in the country. No, look at just one. Then you're able to look at what you think
should be studied. That's why we are talking about the unit of analysis, unit of inquiry, eligibility, the boundary, that kind of thing is very important. That's why we say, yeah, population must be precise and realistic. Very important. Colleagues, there's a team that's going to do this for us. And therefore, you don't have to say, but now what is this man saying? Somebody is going to do that and do it for us very well. Colleagues, I want us to look at sampling and maybe even the purpose. Colleagues, this is very important. And I want us to understand that sampling is the process of selecting a meaningful number of units. I'll mention this again. Charles, can I finish? Then you keep that, then I will be able to answer it later. Charles, I'm almost finishing. Keep your hand, the questions written down. I won't connect these dots. Unless it's a quick one, then you can ask a quick one. I've gone back to the population of the study. You had a question there, or can you allow me to finish? Because time is not also on our side.
Yes, just finish, sir. I've already written a question down.
Okay, it's fine. Then we shall have the questions later. So colleagues, we are looking at sampling. And we're saying sampling is the process of selecting a meaningful number of units from a larger population. Yes? Sampling allows the researcher to collect data efficiently while still making meaningful conclusions. Colleagues, sampling may be probability based on non-probability or non-probability based. Colleagues, I will mention this again. Sampling may be probability based or non-probability based. And colleagues, probability sampling gives each eligible unit a known chance of selection, while a non-probability sampling relies on judgment, accessibility, or even relevancy. For example, colleagues, stratified sampling may be used to ensure maybe nurses, laboratory staff, clinicians, and even pharmacy staff are all represented. But purposive sampling may be used to select managers or experts for interviews. This is very important. So colleagues, I want us to understand that sampling selects information-rich evidence. But we also know how to understand that a sample will save time and cost. You can't study everybody. No. You can't study everybody. Just get a sample. Yes, that's why you look at the issues of population here. And we're talking about there's a target, there's accessible, and then there is, what I would call the unit of analysis, whatever you want to call it, or a sampling frame. All of this. So a population must be precise and realistic. Therefore, when you are getting your sample, make sure get a sample which is determined, because you ought to save time and cost. You can't study everybody. If you want to study health facilities in Uganda, just get a sample of maybe some few health facilities. But again, sampling supports feasible fieldwork. That's what you ought to understand. But it also improves focused inquiry, but above all, it enables what we call statistical inference. Then it also allows deeper exploration, but also reduces unnecessary burden. You cannot continue running up and down that you are collecting data from everywhere. That will not work. So colleagues, you ought therefore to understand that when you are doing or being a methodological person, you have to move. We started to looking at the issues of the methodology that begins with the design. You go to the approaches, quantitative or qualitative. You move to the data collection methods. You could actually look at quantitative or qualitative. Then you go and look at the data collection tools that can collect the relevant data. Now we're looking at the population, you determine it, then determine the sample. Colleagues, this is how we move. Now, these are the sampling types. Random, systematic, all this, cluster, purposive, snowball. You are going to look at this. I'm not going to discuss this for you because there is a group that is supposed to discuss this for us. So Charles, I know you are going to ask some questions about this. These are sampling types, some of them. But you ought to understand that as we look at these sampling types, we need to know when you talk about random, what's random? There should be an equal chance for me also to be selected and be part of, that kind of study. That is what we ought to understand. It's very important. But of course, sometimes we also need to know that, but now, what did the man say? But he mentioned something I did not understand. What didn't you understand? So these are key and very important issues that we ought to understand, ideally at the end of the day. So Charles, did you want to ask a question at this moment, or we still just move on what we wanted to move and talk about? Yes?
Yes, so thank you very much for giving me the opportunity. So my question is not about sampling types. Those are things that I already know. So my curiosity was about the population, the slide with the population that talks about target, accessible, and frame. So I actually wanted you to just give, okay, right there. Target, accessible, who is reachable, who matters, and who is listed. So I just wanted you to give a little explanation on these three, at least for my benefit and also the benefit of my fellow colleagues.
Thank you so much. I'm coming back to that. When time allows, I'm going to explain. When you talk about who is reachable, accessible, somebody reachable, who is listed, the target, all that, I'm going to explain if time allows. This is going to be deep. So I just allow me finish, then I should be able to come back to that. I thought it was something short, or the slides were not clear, that kind of thing. But we shall get back to that. So Charles, is that okay?
It's okay. Thank you, sir.
Yes. So we're looking at sampling, why sampling? And I gave the advantages of sampling, really. And the sampling types, we also have them here. There are quite a number of them, the sampling types. Because I talked about the random sampling, the systematic, the strategic, cluster, purposive, and snowball. So maybe I can throw some light on this, but there's a group that's going to discuss about this. When you talk about, let me talk just about purposive and maybe snowball. The rest will come later because you look at this as a stratified strata. Cluster is the area. Then random, you are doing it randomly. Systematic, at an interval. But purposive, you want this specific person to give you information because he is experienced and he has a lot of knowledge about the subject matter. For instance, you are not going to ask about a bridge, how your child is lying in the mother's womb when he is just maybe a clinician or a nurse. But you could ask a midwife or a gynecologist. That's what I'm trying to say. But you cannot also say, now I want to ask Dr. Tukey about quality assurance in Utamu. I'm not a quality assurance officer. You go and ask the director of quality assurance. So that person is the one who's going to give you information. You can't ask me whether or not the university is registered with the National Council for Higher Education. You ask the VC. I may just be an ordinary facilitator who has been paid to come and teach. So possibly go to the VC, he has information. Go to the chairperson, board of governors, he knows all of these issues. They know the founder. Who is the founder? You may not ask me because I'm a part-time lecturer. But you can also not ask me about the status quo of Ebola today. I'm not an epidemiologist. I don't even work in Ministry of Health. Go there and find out. But of course, when you ask me, a dentist, I will tell you yes. I can tell you about teeth. They're supposed to be 32 for an adult. Yeah, a normal one. But in America, they are 28 because those ones, they extract all of the wisdom teeth. Colleagues, per passive, the person has got information and you know he's rich, he has expertise in that. But snowball is also very important. Networks, yes. You want to know how many women are prostitutes. Just get one in that area. Get one. She's going to tell you even the number of men she sleeps with, even the cost. One time I was moving, some of you are from Uganda. I was moving from Bugolobi campus. By the way, I'm stationed in Bugolobi campus. There is Congo campus, Bugolobi campus. So I was moving from, Bugolobi campus. That day I did not have a car. So they dropped me at Radio 1. There are very many prostitutes there, very many. So when I was getting out of the car, very smart with my necktie, I was a very handsome man that time. So one lady told me, excuse me, gentlemen, are you looking for something to buy? Said, no. If I want to buy, I know what to buy. She told me I'm a prostitute, I'm selling. Said, how much? She told me if I can give you something to taste. Said, what is that? That I can give you my goods and you taste. I told her, thank you so much, but I don't want to taste anything. Why do you want me to taste? What am I tasting? So the lady told me, no, you see, I'm not information, that kind of thing. I told her, madam, what exactly are you selling? Then he told me I'm selling myself, but I want to give you to test. And she was dragging me somewhere. I told her, madam, you are dragging a police officer. I pulled my warrant card and showed her. She took off. Then I put back the card, but I was still moving in that same, line of Radio 1. I got something to eat around that area. I'm coming out like that. Before I even came out, the woman who was also buying chips and chicken, she was moving next to me. And she told me, excuse me, sir, I'm selling. Said, no, but I've already bought, I have chips and chicken. Said, no, you don't understand. I'm selling. And the woman is showing me what she's selling. You know what I'm talking about. I told her, madam, I don't want to see what you are selling. I have bought what I wanted. Then I told her, I'm a gentleman, but I can also mean to be rude. I pulled the warrant card and showed her. I moved with it in my pocket. When she saw Uganda police force, said, this one is a problem. I put it back. As I was moving, the lady told the others that, that man who's moving, don't approach him, he's a policeman. I think he has come to arrest people. One woman actually told me, those are the people I want. Then the woman came to me and told me, you know what, sir, I'm a prostitute, but I can also tell you that we are so many here. I told her I'm not interested, but since you want money, I'm giving you 10K. I gave her 10,000 shillings. Then he told me, next time when you come, I will give you to test for free because you have given me money, which is used for testing. I told her, madam, I don't want to understand this. I'm telling you this because I want you to understand that this question is coming from here, sampling. The advantages and disadvantages and the types. And I'm interested in these two here. So next time, why I'm just around here. So do you know what the woman told me? She told me a lot of stories about herself. Who was this lady? A student. I told her, madam, you come to my clinic tomorrow. I'm also a health professional. When she came to the following day, she told me, sir, I'm a student, I'm doing law, but I'm on a private basis. I'm in Makerere University. I failed to get the tuition. I thank you so much. Yesterday, you gave me 10K. The 10K you gave me, managed to take me home. I also had something to eat, and I went back to school, but I've not paid tuition. But I'm a prostitute, and I'm not about to leave prostitution until I finish law. Degree, LLB. I told her, you are at the age of my daughters. Do you know so-and-so? She told me, yes, I know her. Said, how do you call her? Is she your girlfriend? I told her, no, that's my daughter. That time, my daughter was also doing law, and she was in her 4th year. But of course, I was paying tuition. So go and look for her and tell her, you come here with her. I see how I can help you. But you are not going to be anywhere next to me as far as prostitution is concerned. I'm a gentleman. I think you have seen my place, but don't make it a habit to keep coming here. So she came with my daughter, and this lady started saying, by the way, I'm not alone. She started now telling me very many other students, about 20 of them who were prostitutes. I told her, I'm not interested in others. I'm interested in you. Why am I talking so much about this? Snowball. Yes, you get one prostitute, she will give you 100 of them. You get one robber, she will tell you 9 of them. Police uses this so much. You get one Ebola person today in Uganda, I think we have now reached to 6. I don't know the statistics who have been infected. And all these guys are Congolese. Yes, you have Ebola, we are quarantining you, we are putting you here, but tell us, whom did you interact with? A, B, C, D. And we get all those guys, they are quarantined, they are somewhere. That is what I wanted to say. Colleagues, unless you have a problem with me, I don't have any problem with anybody. How many minutes do we have? About 28 minutes, and we shall be done. So if you are tired of me, no worries, you can exit and move a little bit. But when you are doing exams, don't exit, stay there. I have a lady who actually told me, doctor, I have fallen sick, and I'm about to fall sick even the next paper. Thank you. And that's what she said. And I also put in her script, thank you, and I put the 0. Data collection methods in the field of evaluation. She has a 0, and I put 2 zeros. So colleagues, this is very important. So if you are in class and you are tired, this man's boring, you exit. But if you feel it's interesting, please be here until we finish. We have 28 minutes to go. So therefore, sampling strategy follows the objective. What is your objective? Do you want a sample that is going to get to understand how many Ebola cases we have in Uganda? Yes. Just get one. That Ebola case is going to tell you, yesterday I slept with a woman. That woman is so and so. But I'm also in touch with my children. Yesterday they were with me. We are going to pick all of them. Then we shall tell the kids, please, who are your contacts? Whom did you play with? They will tell you. Snowball. Purposive, somebody with information. Cluster, a cluster. You know, that area. Yes. This is what we're talking about. Then the random, equal chance of being selected. At interval, systematic. If it's an interval of 5, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, then get the 5th. Then you go again, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, get the 10th, like that. That's what we're talking about. Colleagues, a sampling strategy follows the objective. Sampling size logic is what we ought to look at. This is very key and very important. When you talk about logic, we know what logic is all about. Because if you don't understand the logic, then it becomes a problem. Ladies and gentlemen, a sampling size should be determined logically. That's why you said logic. Logically, not guessed. I'll mention this again. First of all, let me ask the question, and my slide's moving. Amount sampling size logic?
Yes, doctor.
Thank you so much. Thank you so much. And I have said a sampling size should be determined logically. That's why I've put there, sampling size logic. Logically, not guessed. Don't guess. Be logical. Ladies and gentlemen, for you to determine a sample size, it depends on a population size. Yes. But again, it also depends on the margin of error. That is what you ought to understand. But it also depends on the confidential levels. Yes? When you look at a heterogeneity, then you have to look at the heterogeneity of the population. Shall be able to speak like researchers here. Heterogeneity. We shall be asking ourselves, what is that again? New term. It should also depend on the study design and the available resources. Colleagues, therefore, Yemen formula and the Morgan table 1970 are common approaches in social science research. I know there are medical doctors here, they are keeping quiet, but we are saying when we're in this class, put the medicine aside. We are talking about social sciences. That's what we're talking about. And the formulas here are different from the one we're talking about in the actual real science. So the Yemen formula is what we're using here. And we're also using the tables of Craig and Morgan 1970, which were designed. We are going to get to that. So there are common approaches in social sciences. However, the selected approaches must be explained and justified. This is what we ought to understand. Colleagues, I want us to get this and get it very well. Because if we don't get this well, then we are going to have a lot of issues. Determine the population logically. Just give me a second. There are kids here. It's having my class. Okay. There are certain things you cannot control. I'm in an environment where parents bring their children to play around. They are not even at school. And what hurts me, 4 of these children, I wanted to sponsor them. The mother came and abused me, just because I had offered to pay rent for 1 year. She went and told her husband. The husband came, attacked me, and these people were just sleeping around. I was the one. I've seen these kids grow around. I'm in Kisenyi, downtown, and they are not at school now. It's very, very, very unfortunate. So colleagues, you can mute. Peter, mute. I want us to pick it up from here. I don't know where I was, but anyhow, we're looking at, sampling size, and we're saying it's logical in a manner that we follow the sampling size, yes, and we need to depend on the population size, the margin of error, and the confidence levels, as we're looking at that, and also ensuring that we also need to follow the study population and also resources. If you don't have resources, you may not be able to do anything. Because if the sample is big and you do not have the money to be able to move in all counties or in the entire country, then you have issues. So the practical example I would give, somebody's mic is mute, is open. And if I go there and put this person, I don't know, Peter, Arinaitre, and Hope, is it okay for you people to mute? If you are not going to mute, then I might remove you from the class. I don't know what you'll choose to do. Class, do I agree? I put them in the waiting room? Just be good citizens. Allow others who have come to study. We first mute all of you now. But this organizes my class. You
don't want to be in class, simply just exit. Allow others who have paid their tuition to study. Okay? Okay. So don't make noise. If you feel you are bored of the class, just exit. Don't be in class. Don't pretend to be here when you are not here. I'm teaching something very important, and this area here is examinable. So colleagues, it is therefore important for us to understand that sampling is done logically, and we do it because sampling determines what resources you are going to use. Don't do or carry out a study generally. No. Sample, so that sample will be used, generalized. You know, I come from Teso. I come from a district called Bukedea. Very interesting district. Of late, people are talking about Bukedea, 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 Bukedea. And everybody keeps on asking me what I know about Bukedea. I'm born from there. And by the way, Bukedea means Bukedea, meaning come with the source. So, in Bukedea, we have a market on Mondays. And that market, they sell also local brew. So there are people who get drunk just because they want to taste, they sample. I want some marwa, but I want to take the sample. He gets the straw and tastes. Say, this is okay. He nods in agreement. Let me come back. He goes to another one. Sample. Ideal at the end of the day, the fool gets drunk out of only sampling. That is not the sampling we're talking about. That's not the sampling I'm talking about of the lady who told me, but doctor, you can taste this one. You know, you people have not asked me if this lady, the prostitute, finished. She finished together with my daughter. My daughter is a senior police officer, and she's currently in the police college, Buevaja. She's the legal officer there. Don't ask me about the other one. I don't know where she is, but she became an advocate somewhere. But she started from prostitution. I will not tell you the name. But she's now a repented sinner. And I told her, you lady, you were going to get spoiled. But now, you know, she even wanted me to sample. I did not sample because she was at the bracket of my daughter. So sampling is good and great because you will be able to save resources. You will not study everyone. Colleagues, this is very key and very important. I want us now to look at what I would call the types. The types, the data types. The data types is what I want us to look at. Types of data. Yes, because we are being told that for you to be able to do methodology, colleagues, don't forget methodology. By the way, in Utamu, we have a methodology chapter. Chapter 3, methodology. And that's what we're looking at. You need to look at this in a critical manner. Methodology, chapter 3. Then you are talking about design. From design, you are talking about data collection approaches. Then you are talking about, data collection methods. Data collection, that kind of thing. Now we're in methods. So there is what we call data collection methods. Colleagues, when you talk about data collection methods, I want you to be able to understand this very well. But before we look at that, let's first look at this word. Bigger is not always better. What did I mean? Don't think of studying everyone. No, at least try to determine a sample. I want to give an example before the question comes from here. If the accessible population is 500, Charles, I'm now answering some of your questions. If the accessible population is 500 and the researcher uses a 5% margin of error, Yemen formula gives appropriately 222 respondents. Charles, are you there?
I am actively following, sir. That's the Yemen formula you are using.
Yes. So we're talking about determination of a population, and we're saying we can use a formula. And we're saying if the accessible population is 500, yes, then the researcher uses 5% margin of error, like we have it there, number 3. Yes,
That is Yemen's formula. It gives appropriately 222 respondents. If we went back here and you look at this accessible population, you know, that is the population that you are going to access. And you're asking a question here. Yes, accessible. You are now seeing accessible if there are 500. You are not even going to study all the 500. No way. We want you to use a formula and determine the number of respondents you are going to have. Then Yemen's formula will give you 222. Yes, but when you use Craig and Morgan, you go to the tables and be able to look at where the 500 is, and it will give you how many you will have. But still, you will get to around that. So colleagues, now let's look at the sampling strategies. Data types. Yes, ladies and gentlemen, when you talk about a strategy, sampling strategy must match the research purpose. Quantitative studies commonly use probability sampling. Quantitative will use probability sampling, while qualitative studies often use purposive sampling. Data may be primary or secondary. This is what we ought to understand. And they may also be qualitative, quantitative, or qualitative. Primary data are collected directly from respondents, while secondary data already exists in a document, a report, or databases. This is key and very important. Colleagues, data types determine analysis option. You ought to understand this very well. Data types determines analysis options. Therefore, you ought to understand that if you are going to collect, data directly, then that's primary data. If you are going to review document, then that is the secondary data. If you are going to look at the qualitative data, then that is narratives. If it's quantitative, then that's numerical numbers. Nominal coming from the word naming. Yeah, nominal comes from the word naming. Yes, then that's nominal. Ordinal, that is from ranking. Therefore, ladies and gentlemen, data types determines analysis options. I want you to get this very well. And I want to give you an example when you talk about, this data, primary, secondary, that kind of thing. A survey of students, probably, if I look at this, maybe students' financial literacy may collect primary quantitative data using a questionnaire. A survey of students' financial literacy may collect primary qualitative data using a questionnaire, while a policy review may use secondary qualitative data from reports and institutional documents. Yes, this is what you ought to understand. Right now, we have a lot of corruption scandals being investigated in the country, and the investigations are ongoing in several institutions, by the way, not only in the parliament, but you will realize that a lot is being scrutinized. You cannot collect primary data now. You may have to use secondary data. They are reviewing documents. They are looking at a lot of things to determine, which bank, this banker check, look at this. They take people's phones. They come to CCTV cameras. They look at all of this. This is secondary. So colleagues, this is very important for us to understand. Therefore, there are many types of data that you may be able to collect. It could be primary, it could be secondary, it could be quantitative, it could be qualitative, it could be nominal, it could be ordinal. That's what you ought to understand. But the data type determines analysis options. What options of analysis do you have? Because if you have collected data directly from the students and you want to know their financial literacy, and you had a questionnaire to go and collect this data, then you are directly collecting primary data. Analyze it directly. So, but if you are going to look at the documents, then you ought to collect the secondary data. But I also want you to know that from the medical perspective, if the data that has been collected from the documents is looking at numbers in the medicine or pure sciences, that data is not secondary, it becomes primary. I'll give you an example. I'm a dentist and I'm speaking from my private facility. If I want to know how many patients I've handled in the entire week, yes, I might be forced to segregate between male and females, then the number of teeth extracted, that kind of thing. And if I'm looking at the numbers, 100 ladies, then within the ladies or the females, their children, then I segregate them, then maybe 50 or 20 men. By the way, ladies are the ones who are more prone to tooth decay than male. I don't know why, but I carried out my research. They are the ones who eat sugary things. And now again, they are the only ones who like brushing the teeth, which are anterior teeth. Posterior teeth, they don't brush. They only brush the teeth around the smiling region because they won't smile. But the molars are really decayed, many of them. But with you, exceptional who are here, don't care about the comments I'm making. But anyway, I'm a researcher as well, but I can tell you the truth. Women lose teeth more than men. And the teeth they are most likely to lose are the molars. Why? Because they chew sugary things using them, and yet they don't brush them. But who is to blame? A dentist who does not tell these people what to brush and how to brush, where to brush. So this is very important. So this is key and very important for us to understand. Now, let's look at data collection methods. Maybe the time may not be enough, but I will borrow some few minutes, like 20, because I needed to explain this. So colleagues and ladies and gentlemen, data collection methods include surveys, interviews, focus group discussion, observation, documentary, focus group discussion, mention them. The procedures include obtaining permission. That's what I want you to understand. You have to obtain permission for you to be able to collect this data. But when you talk about survey collects structured responses. If you talk about interviews depends participants. Meaning, focus group stimulates discussion. I don't know if the slides are not moving because I might not take a question. Mwanje, is it Mawaje Samuel? If the question is long, I will not take it. What did you want to say?
Thank you, Doctor. I just wanted a tiny follow-up on what you had mentioned about using Yemen's equation to calculate for a good sample size. And but I just wanted to inquire, for example, you would use it and you have like a general sample size of like 400 people. But when I was doing a bit more research and I saw that maybe you can use minimum cell frequencies when you've already collected
look at that. We shall look at that, determining a sample size. We shall look at that. The reason is that I only have 1 or 2 minutes. If I have 5 minutes to go. If I go answering that, I don't like giving shallow answers. I might not be able to finish. Just keep the question. I will be able to respond to that. So can we look at this quickly? Samuel, is that okay with you? Data collection methods, can we look at this?
Yes, yes.
Yeah, data collection methods are quite a number of them. We have got survey. Survey collects what we call quantitative or numerical a kind of elements from the study, meaning quantitative research, uses survey. And the tool we use here is the questionnaire. Interviews is a method that collects qualitative data. Yes, and we use interview guides as a tool. Focus group discussion is a qualitative kind of data collection method, and use a focus group discussion checklist. Observation is a method, but it collects data which is also of qualitative nature, and use observation checklist. Documentary review collects qualitative data. But if you're a medical person and you are not using social sciences, it collects actually numerical data. Quantitative data. If it's going to look at the numbers, like the number of patients are seen in a week or in a month. But a documentary review is, in social sciences, known to be, a qualitative type of data collection method, and we use the documentary checklist. Yes. Then we also use digital tools. Sometimes I'm a health professional, because the last time I went to the eastern part of Uganda, specifically to the greater Busoga, and I can be there and I want to collect data, maybe hygiene of the barracks, police barracks, and I have my tool, the Kobo Collect tool. It is normally real, and it allows you to do what is supposed to be done at the specific point where you will be, collecting data from. The moment you move from there, then you are going to have a lot of issues. But we are saying these data collection methods can be triangulated. You can triangulate them. Triangulation is basically mixing them up. You can have both quantitative and qualitative, depending on the kind of data you want to collect. For instance, we are saying you want to know probably how many students got registered for this specific module, say research methods. How many students? Then you say there were 200. Out of the 200 students, how many actually attend classes? Like there were 151, now I'm seeing 145 minus myself, that's 144 students. Now you'll be able to find out the attendance of these students and say, now, I think the attendance regular, because 90% of the students actually attend the classes. This is key and very important. So ladies and gentlemen, I want us to understand that if you are looking at this kind of data collection methods, I want also to understand the procedures. Because if you are going to collect this data, you must follow the procedure. And the procedure is that you should be able to obtain permission. Most universities have got REC. REC is a Research Ethical Committee. That should be able to clear you. In Utamu, we get this clearance, say from a dean or a head of department or a specific person who is given that kind of mandate. Yes, but we normally go beyond REC. You go also to National Council for Higher Education. I mean, National Council of Science and Technology. They, I think that the unit is under President's office. Once the REC clears you, you are supposed to get to National Science of Technology. They give you a letter and clearing you, but you're supposed to pay a certain fee. Then you are allowed to collect data. This is very important. But I wanted to mention something about the survey design instrument. But time is not there. When we're designing this instrument, we need to be very objective, because sometimes designing instruments is not easy because A good survey instrument begins with the constructs, indicators, and measurable items. I keep mentioning this all the time, and they normally set a question from this area. And the students who have been able to go to what I would call our platform, you will see sample questions that are normally set. I normally set a compulsory question, which is in the section A. And I would mention this, and people keep on saying, but that man, he keeps on leaking exams. I am not normally interested in anybody failing my paper, by the way. So I will tell you my areas of interest. And many people end up failing this because they cram or they look at the slides. They don't actually attend the class to look at the examples I give. If you're talking about designing an instrument, it begins from the problem. What is the problem you are studying? Is the problem researchable? Yes. Then you go and begin looking at what I would call the title. Yeah, the title is narrow, the topic is large, broader. So within that title, you ought to have gotten your variables, IV and the DV, commonly. Yeah, at your level, you need to have an independent variable and a dependent variable. Many of you have got a deadline of submitting your work today, or even last night. But whoever submits now, the system will accept it. But it will show you that you are late by so many hours, which is okay. I don't have any problem with that. But most importantly, as you have these variables, do what we call operationalization of the variables. But before you do operationalization of the variables, do what we call conceptualization of the variables. And conceptualization of the variables, you have the key concepts. Then operationalize them. As you operationalize them, then you need to get what I would call the measurable items. Those measurable items are normally what we turn into objectives, research questions, and research hypotheses if the study is of quantitative nature. Colleagues were almost getting to summarize. I have about 4 or less slides to go. So be patient with me. I know the time is, I've short my time by 3 minutes, but it's okay. I think I'm going to wind up so that I don't explain so much. So I want to say that as you are designing your research instrument, you ought to look at those measurable items. Get them, carry them to the research instrument. If they are not in the research instrument, you are going to collect wrong data. Because we're saying good instruments reflect a good thinking. It begins from the problem, then you look at the key variables, conceptualize them, operationalize them, then after operationalizing them, get to understand what I would call measurable items. Those measurable items, get them and take them to the research instruments. That is what we call now designing a research instrument. What to answer, what varies, and look at all of these items, the question, the response forms, the scales. If you're using the 5-Likert scale, use it. But some mistakes are normally made. If you're using a 5-Likert scale, then 5 should be measuring, maybe strongly agree. 4 is agree. Then 3 is neutral or not sure. Then 2, maybe you are saying disagree. Then 1, strongly disagree. But some of you do it the other way around. And when you go and collect data, you are going to collect wrong data. I coordinated a PhD program of masks and Utamu when I was doing my second PhD, and 3 guys failed just because they failed to design the research instrument well. I know some of you could be holding PhDs or second master's, third master's, you know what I'm talking about. So my emphasis here is for you to get the knowledge, not just pass exams. Because we're saying good instrument reflects good thinking. Colleagues, having said that, validity is assurance. And when we talk about validity, It's something which is very important. Because see, I want to mention this, that when you are testing and ensuring validity and reliability, validity, colleagues, refers to whether the instrument measures what is intended to measure. Whereas reliability refers to whether it produces consistent results. Colleagues, validity may be improved through expert review and content validity. Yes, but again, if you are going to talk about content validity, then you are going to use the index. While reliability may be tested through pilot data. Yes, and the crunchback alpha coefficient. That one we are going to look at it. A validity and reliability instrument improves the credibility of findings. This is very important. And I'll give you an example. That a questionnaire on expert integrity should contain items that truly represent integrity. That's what we're talking about. Such as ethical conduct, transparency, professional interdependency, and accountability. This is what is required. Very, very important. So colleagues, I want us to look at this. Validity assurance, we have got quite a number. If you're talking about validity, we have got face validity review, content validity index, contract validity evidence, criteria validity checks, expert validity, you know, all of this, and pilot feedback. So one may ask, what is validity? Validity asks a lot of questions, measuring the right thing. You know, I'm also an HR expert, and we normally say right thing is the right thing, even if nobody does it. And the wrong thing is the wrong thing, even if everybody does it. That's what we must say. Somebody, I listened to one of the TikToker, and he mentioned something, and I didn't like the statement. And the statement was quite sweeping. It also can never be trusted with power. I didn't like that. That's a sweeping statement. You don't mention that. First of all, personally, I'm not a politician, and I don't have politics anyway. So you don't sweep that. So you need to measure the right thing. What did they measure? If you find a person culpable, until you convict the person, even the person is not guilty. That's what our law says. So measure the right thing, and do not just measure something else. If it's the ethics, how is ethics measured? That's what we're talking about. So a participant should know that refusing to take part in a study will not affect that employment, treatment, or academic kind of standing. This is very, very important. So measuring of variables is very key, and we have talked about this very well, and this is what we are always talking about. Concept becomes what I would call variables. Variables need indicators. Indicators need items. Items need scales. Scales produce scores. Scores support analysis. Colleagues, I mentioned this earlier on. I don't have to repeat this because we do not have the time, because the time is really against us. So colleagues, having said that, we ought therefore to say that measurement means turning abstract concepts into observable indicators and measurable items. A variable must be defined conceptually and operationally. Indicators then guide the questionnaire. Interview guide the checklist. Without proper measurement, the researcher may collect data that do not actually answer the objectives. That's what we are saying here. So measurement converts ideas into evidence. Colleagues, ethical methodology, I mentioned about this. There are normally approvals, yes, and permission should be from REC, It could be from a specific body, National Council National Council of Science and Technology. Yes, when somebody is answering questions, when you are conducting your study, it should be voluntary. Don't put people on gunpoint. Confidentiality. Don't reveal the names of the people who are helping you. Why would you do that? Minimize risks. Yes, storage, secure this, and reporting. Report honestly. Yes, ethics protects people and science. We had a graduation last week, and one of the things that amused the chancellor of the university is called Dr. Patrick Bitakire. He told me that, thank you so much, you're a good MC. I told him, sir, you have reduced me, I'm not an MC. MCs are near villages. Me, I was a director of ceremonies. I mentioned something about ethics. I said, when you lose wealth, everything is lost. If health is lost, maybe something is lost. But if you lost wealth, nothing is lost. People are losing wealth here. But the moment you lose character and integrity, all is lost. Therefore, in research, ethics protects people and science. The moment you begin behaving as if you have not gone to school, then you are going to have a lot of issues. So, ethical methodology begins from approval, get permission. Even when you go to the field, get consent from the person that you are going to interview or getting information from. Keep confidentiality. Why do you keep on mentioning people's names all the time? So and so told me this, yeah, so and so told me this. That is in the politics because people want ministerial positions. Don't reveal people's names because you want to be given maybe a position in the government. With us here, we're not talking politics, we are talking science, and science is research, and research is key and very important. Yes, ignore that voice. It's of a client calling the father. You're supposed to have a tooth treatment. Thank you. Colleagues, methodology chapter structure. This is very important, and we're going to look at this very, very quickly. And what do I have to say? In the Universal Technology and Management University, this is the structure of our methodology chapter. If you have not looked at that well, then you are going to have issues. Methodology chapter, we are looking at the methodology chapter in Utamu as chapter 3. Yes, chapter 3. And I want us to look at this very, very well. Chapter 3. And normally, we include research design. We are looking at the study population, sampling size, sampling strategy, data collection methods. We're looking at the instruments. We're looking at the validity and reliability of the data collection instruments, the data analysis plan, and ethical consideration. Colleagues, this section must speak to one another and to the research objectives. And we're saying a methodology chapter should not read like disconnected textbooks. No. It should read like a coherent plan for the specific study. For instance, if objective 1 measures remuneration, objective 2 measures motivation, and objective 3 measures performance, the instrument and analysis plan must clearly cover all of the 3. Colleagues, this is key and very, very important. So chapter 3 must tell a coherent story, therefore, ladies and gentlemen. Key takeaways as we conclude. We must say methodology, colleagues, as we look at the key takeaways. The key takeaway is basically that methodology is the logic of credible evidence generation. Method of credible evidence generation. Design, population, sampling instrument, validity, reliability, ethics, and must be coherent. And he said a strong methodology chapter gives the reader confidence in the findings because it shows that the researcher planned carefully and followed in defendable procedures. Colleagues, when defending a proposal that you're about to do so in the near future, you should be able to explain every methodological choice using the words, because therefore and in line with the objective. That's what you will be doing. Colleagues, I want to conclude. A strong method section protects conclusion. And I want to conclude. Methodology, Mr. President, allow me conclude. I know you are saying the class has ended, which is okay. Put your hand down, and I want to say methodology is the bridge between research questions and transversal evidence. Thank you, ladies and gentlemen. Mr. President, I know you want to go to the next class. It is okay. Unless you have a quick question, you can go for it. Thank you so much. God bless you.
Yes, Doctor, thank you so much for a wonderful session. Mine is basically a short concern. We have some colleagues who just joined the course, I think 2 days ago, and some have actually joined today. So my question is, how should we go about that in terms of like the individual assignment for them and the group coursework? Thank you, Doctor.
You are talking about a group coursework? The first assignment of developing a proposal is the first assignment and is marked out of 15%. If a colleague really wants to understand, can I finish? Can I finish, Mr. President? You asked a question and I'm answering. You can't bake your cake and have it. I'm answering the question that you asked. Therefore, colleagues who have just joined, I don't know how many there are. What you need to do, sit down, give me the list of those students who claim they have just joined. And we need to prove really that they have just joined. However, research methods class, if you are not strong, it's not easy to facilitate because it is a cohort where everybody is in. And it's a class where everybody wants to have, everybody have the same complaint. I joined late. How do I go about it? And yet the very first day when we're joining, you give an assignment that we're going to have a proposal that should be written. And this proposal should be submitted within this period of time. Now, when it comes to the time of deadline is when everybody will have an excuse. I follow and I see what is on the chart. I've just joined, but you see the student who has joined. When you go to check, was in the first class and he had even the announcement being made. Then I laugh and say, so many are going to say, my laptop crashed, which is okay. I don't have any problem with that. So, Mr. President, these people who have just joined, put them in groups. That's what I wanted to say. Put them in the groups that have already coexisted and absorb them. I'm not going to have new questions for people who have just joined. Put them in groups. Is that okay?
Yes, Doctor. Thank you so much.
Yes, absorb them in the groups which are existing. Okay. Is there a burning question?
Yes, Doctor.
Yes, how many burning questions do you have?
Doctor, mine is not a burning question, it is an humble appeal that I've consistently been making. Is it possible to schedule this class on the e-learning tool?
That appeal does not go to me, it goes to the university. The university called me and told me the class begins at 10. and stops at midday. I can't break the rules. What they have not done is to update the new timetable. That one the class president can write to the university, write to academic registrar, write to the dean, write to somebody called the Kabito, tell them to update. With me, I was under instruction. Remember, I'm an employee. I was told the new timetable, begin teaching at 10, stop at midday. The reason was that give students time to relax their minds such that they can have time to have lunch and come to class at 2 o'clock.
Doctor, so that's not the problem. That's not the problem, doctor.
No, what's the problem?
The problem is he is requesting that can we have this particular unit with its link uploaded on the e-platform.
You ask the question again, maybe put it in a better way. What is the question?
Okay, in other units, when we have a class, you only go to the e-learning platform and you click in the link and then you go online. But this one, for this particular unit, someone has to first go to the WhatsApp and get a Zoom link and then be able to join. So what my previous colleague was meaning is that if this particular unit, if this in this particular unit, if we have it online on the e-learning platform, everyone will know that at 11, I will just go on the e-learning platform and log in and attend class, but not first going to WhatsApp. What if my phone is not on? Or what if I'm not, something like that? So that's what
according to you, I've gotten that. I'm an employee of Utamu. I don't know whether you are getting me right. I'm an employee of Utamu. The regulations are that teach from the platform. Are you getting me right?
Yes, please.
The platform failed us today. That's why we had this. But the students who feel they don't want to be on the platform, you have management, you have a class president, you have a deputy. I don't know who they are, by the way. I've never met them. Tell them we want this link also to be on our groups. I think that is easy. So have the link in your groups, but when it's teaching, I can't teach outside the platform.
Doctor,
I teach within the platform.
It is not that. It is not
can I
that.
present, can I show and demonstrate the basic request I'm trying to make?
Ask the question well.
Can I try again?
Try again and ask.
Yes,
this
I think
I don't know why this is becoming an issue. What is the problem?
Doctor, I think the issue is there is a link on the e-learning platform. That link does not give us the class. And there is a different link that is being shared on WhatsApp. It is that link on WhatsApp that works. And so we are asking that that link on WhatsApp should be uploaded or should be updated on the e-learning platform so that whoever wants to join the class can directly go to the e-learning and click the link and join the class, rather than you moving to WhatsApp to go and look for that link. I think that's what we are trying to do.
I don't know who shared the link. The link that was shared, I don't have an idea who shared it, but I think it was a class president. I'll repeat this, and we're talking about the same thing. You're only failing to understand me. I'm an employee of the university. I'm mandated to use the platform.
Excuse me,
I'll
doctor.
repeat this. Just get me well. I'm mandated to use the link on the platform. Not what you have shared.
Excuse me, doctor.
If the one you have shared, just listen to me. What is on the platform, if it is not activated, we are going to ask the online officers to activate it. I don't know why this is a headache.
Excuse me, doctor.
Doctor, it's okay.
Excuse me.
Doctor, it's fine. We can leave this issue. It seems it's not coming down to what we are
Exactly.
for. Let us just forget about it.
Some of us
it was just to understand. I'm an employee. I use the link which is on the platform. If you have the class representative, tell them to update the link. The one that I'm using, it could have had issues today because there was a platform issue.
Exactly.
But all in all, the class has ended. So, class president, coordinate with administration. Thank you.
Doctor, the platform is very active on the platform, only that today there was a technical issue. So members,
Excuse me,
just go on your
Doctor.
platform and then you log in next time.
And the members, we must also know that
I was still having a class. Yeah, but now they are asking about other issues that I don't seem to understand. Taban, what did you want to say?
I just wanted to add on what they are saying about the issue of the platform on WhatsApp. This platform in WhatsApp is always helping people because there are people who are watching on phone, there are people who are on computer. So in most cases, the thing is always copied on WhatsApp so that people can easily access it. But in most cases, we always go online. You have to go on the platform and attend from there. But where there are challenges, that's where sometimes it happens. But all in all,
Taban, I get you. Yeah. Taban, what I'm mandated, I wish Taban you could understand me. This university has got their own rules and regulations. They say I should teach on the platform, e-learning. Therefore, I will always go to e-learning. If this same link is on e-learning, I don't have any problem. But if you decided to create another link, which is not on e-learning, I will be penalized. Come and get me and get it right. So, what your management can do, Marvin, I think Bagenda is there, you ensure that what is on the e-learning is the one you want to be put on your WhatsApp. Jackson, are you getting me right?
Doctor, we are getting you so well.
So Marvin, Marvin, with you, you're the forces and you're a health professional. I want you to tell me what you won't tell me, such that other colleagues will understand.
Doctor, actually, mine is an appeal to my fellow colleagues and students. We need to all to understand that a doctor has always been teaching us through the e-learning platform. Just that today, we are lucky enough to have students who had already logged in the class before the system or before the e-learning platform had issues. These very people who are already in the class are the ones who shared with us the link. This link was directly from the e-learning platform. Then secondly, colleagues, if you come in class late, please let us address questions which are not related to the course to our class president so that he can forward it to the university. We waste a lot of time here talking about things which are not related to the course. It's a humble appeal to each and every one. Let us always use the time for the class for class-related issues. It is a humble appeal. I'm not disputing whatsoever your challenges that you are facing, but let us use that. If you have any question which is not related to the class, let's forward it to the president via maybe an email. He or she will forward it to the university. Otherwise, we have always been taught from the e-learning platform, and it's just that today we had technical issues. We were lucky enough that there were already people in the class that shared with us the link. This link was from the e-learning platform. Thank you.
Thank you, Marvin. Thank you very much.
Marvin, I think that clears things. That clears things. I was in touch with I think the vice president. I don't know many of you. She called me. After calling me, the platform is down. I told her that actually I had struggled for over 15 minutes trying to log in and I could not log in. Then I told her, just by chance, the platform allows you to log in, get that link and put it in your group. And I told her you will have saved us from an embarrassment. And that's what the class president did. But now, guys, instead of asking me questions about today's module, they have gone astray, which is also okay. This is research. It's a problem that we need to research about. After class, ask related questions. Otherwise, with me, I will always use e-learning. Wutamu is a private university. There are strict rules and regulations. For me to be paid, I must be on the platform. If I'm not in the platform, there is a quality assurance director. And in most cases, you don't know who she is. She's ever in class. My bosses are here now. Even right now, they are there. When you see those numbers, somebody does not put his name, you know they are the administrators. So don't think you are alone. Thank you so much. God bless you. This is a searchable problem that the e-learning platform developed issues today. Who can go for it? Go and start about it. Do we have an alternative? Yes. What's the alternative? Now we have the link on the platform. When it misbehaves next time, use the link. So save the link. I think we have solved the problem. Thank you so much in my language, Yalamanoi. God bless each of you. A man from Bukshedea. Yalama.